The moment the invite hit our mailbox, I should have known. A beach retreat for couples. Alex's attempt to sprinkle some magic on what we both knew was fading fast. But hope, that tricky little devil, made me say yes. We arrived with the sun dipping low, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink I hadn't noticed in years. Maybe it was the beauty, or maybe it was the silence between us, but right then, I felt the gap. The passion that used to ignite at just a glance now required a search through the embers. Then came Leo, like a scene straight out of those romance novels I'd scoff at but secretly devour. He was there alone, a detail that stuck out at a couple's retreat. Our first chat was accidental, a mix-up over dinner seating that led to shared laughs and, unexpectedly, a spark. The days that followed turned into a blur of secret meetings and whispered promises under the guise of exploring the resort. Each step away from Alex and toward Leo felt like tearing a piece of my moral compass away, yet I couldn't stop. The night under the stars, when Leo's lips met mine, felt like stepping into another universe where guilt didn't exist, only us. But guilt is a shadow that waits for the dawn. It crept in with each secret touch, each lie that slipped easily off my tongue. I was playing with fire, mesmerized by its dance, ignoring the burn. Alex noticed, of course. His eyes, once filled with warmth, now narrowed with suspicion. The question started, casual at first then pointed. Why are you always tired? Who were you talking to on the beach? I countered with reassurances that sounded hollow even to my ears. Each day, the double life weighed heavier, a balancing act between exhilaration and dread. I was lost in the thrill, ignoring the inevitable fallout, believing I could keep the two worlds separate. But worlds collide, secrets surface, and hearts, no matter how guarded, break. The air was charged, the kind of tension you feel before a storm hits. That's how it felt the moment I walked through the door, and Alex was there, waiting. His eyes weren't the warm brown I fell in love with, they were cold, questioning. We need to talk, Mia, he said, and every cell in my body screamed to run. I played it cool, too cool. About what? My voice was steady, but my heart? It was a traitor, pounding against my chest like it wanted to confess. Mia, where have you been spending your afternoons? His question wasn't just a question, it was an accusation. I laughed, a sound so fake it made my ears hurt. Around. The retreat is huge, Alex. You know that. Denial was my shield, but it was cracking. The days that followed were a blur of stolen moments with Leo. The danger, the risk of being caught, it only added to the thrill. We were reckless, meeting in daylight, laughter ringing out, not caring who heard. Then came the day Alex found that earring, an earring that wasn't mine, under our bed. The look on his face was something I'll never forget. It was the moment I knew the lies were catching up to me. Alex turned detective after that. Notes about my comings and goings, checks on my phone when I was careless enough to leave it unattended. I could see the pieces falling into place in his mind, each one a hammer blow to the life we'd built. Leo was no help, his words a siren call to destruction. Leave him, Mia. We can be happy together. It was tempting, so tempting to believe in this fantasy we'd created. I told myself my marriage was a sinking ship, that I was just taking the only lifeboat available. Lies. All lies I wrapped around me like a blanket. Alex's next move was a masterstroke. A surprise dinner, to talk things through, he said. I stumbled upon the plans accidentally, a reservation for two at our favorite restaurant, a place filled with memories of a time when love was enough. That night, I made my choice. I stood at the crossroads between my past and what I thought was my future, and I chose Leo. But as I left, part of me mourned for what could have been, for the love Alex and I shared, now buried under a mountain of lies and broken trust. The night I decided to leave Alex, my heart was a wild drumbeat, echoing the turmoil inside me. I'd stumbled upon his plan, a surprise dinner meant to be a stage for confrontation, not reconciliation. It was the push I needed, a sign to jump into the unknown with Leo. I approached Alex, rehearsing calm explanations in my head. But words, once allies, betrayed me. I think it's best if I leave, I started, my voice trembling despite my resolve. Alex's reaction was immediate, his anger a tangible force. Leave? For him? The conversation spiraled, our words weapons that left wounds too deep to heal. In the end, I walked out, the door slamming shut, a punctuation mark to our shared life. My steps towards Leo's place were fueled by a mix of defiance and hope. I imagined our new beginning, the life I'd convinced myself we could have. But the universe has a cruel sense of humor. Leo's door opened to reveal not the future I dreamed of but a reality check I wasn't ready for. Another woman, her presence a silent thunder that shattered my illusions. I returned to what used to be our home, only to find the locks changed, my belongings unceremoniously piled outside. Among them, a letter from Alex, its words a final goodbye, not just from him but from the life I knew. He knew about the affair, his revenge not just leaving me but ensuring I had nothing to return to. Desperation set in as I reached out to friends and family, only to be met with silence or words laced with disappointment. Alex had been thorough, sharing our sordid tale with anyone who'd listen. My social circle, once a source of comfort, was now a minefield. The final blow came with my job loss. My career, once a part of my identity, now a casualty of the chaos I'd caused. My workplace, connected to Alex's professional network, had no place for me anymore. In a matter of days, I'd lost everything: my husband, my lover, my friends, and my job. Sitting among the ruins of my life, I realized the cost of my choices. The pursuit of a fleeting passion had led me here, to this moment of utter despair. The realization was a bitter pill, each consequence a lesson in the harshest terms. The day I arrived in the new city felt like stepping onto another planet. Alone, with the weight of my past actions crushing me, I couldn't help but wonder how I'd let it all come to this. My support system was gone, my financial security a distant memory, and my self-respect? Shattered into pieces so small, I doubted they could ever be pieced back together. The first few weeks were a blur of job hunting and acclimating to a life that felt foreign. The small, run-down apartment I could afford was a constant reminder of my fall from grace. Each creak of the floorboards, each flicker of the faulty lights, echoed the turmoil inside me. It was during one of my aimless walks through the city that I saw them, a couple, so deeply in love, laughing and holding each other like they were the only two people in the world. They were a mirror to the past, to what Alex and I once had before I tore it all apart. The sight of them was a punch to the gut, a reminder of the happiness I'd sacrificed for a fleeting desire. I managed to find work, but it was a far cry from the career I'd left behind. Serving coffee and wiping tables wasn't what I'd envisioned for myself. That pride was a luxury I could no longer afford. Each day was a struggle, not just with the menial tasks but with the internal battle raging within me. Then came the legal papers, a stark white envelope that felt heavier than lead. Alex was filing for divorce, and he was coming for everything. The proceedings were a blur, a series of meetings and signatures that felt both endless and too quick. The court's decision was a blow I had anticipated but still wasn't prepared for. Alex was awarded a large portion of our shared assets, leaving me financially and emotionally drained. Sitting in my dimly lit apartment, the judgment in hand, I couldn't help but reflect on everything that led me here. My choices, my betrayal, had cost me everything. The loneliness was a constant companion, a reminder of the price of my actions. The journey from there to here was marked by loss, a loss of love, of dignity, of the life I once knew. Yet, amidst the wreckage of my own making, there was a glimmer of something else. Not hope, not yet, but the faintest hint of determination. If I had the strength to face the consequences of my actions, maybe, just maybe, I had the strength to rebuild. It wouldn't be easy, and it wouldn't be quick. But for the first time since everything fell apart, I wondered if there was a chance to start again, to forge a new path from the ashes of my mistakes. I never thought my personal life would become the fodder for gossip magazines. Yet here I was, hiding behind sunglasses and a hat, praying no one would recognize me as I walked down the street. My affair, my downfall, it was all out there, a spectacle for the world to consume. Friends I once considered close turned their backs, their whispers a cacophony that followed me everywhere. The isolation was palpable, a constant companion in my newfound solitude. The stress and depression, relentless shadows dogging my steps, finally took their toll. One morning, I woke up gasping for air, my heart racing in a way that felt anything but normal. The hospital visit that followed was a wake-up call, the sterile environment a stark contrast to the chaos of my life. Lying in that hospital bed, I realized if I didn't make a change, I might not get another chance. In search of redemption, or perhaps just a distraction from my own thoughts, I started volunteering at a local charity. It was there, among people who knew nothing of my past, that I found a semblance of peace. Helping others, contributing to something larger than my own story, it gave me a purpose I hadn't realized I was searching for. One evening, Inspired by the genuine connections I was forming, I penned an apology letter to Alex. It was the most honest piece of writing I'd ever done, a raw admission of my faults and an acknowledgement of the pain I'd caused. But as I sealed the envelope, I hesitated. Sending it felt like an intrusion, a disruption to the life Alex had rebuilt without me. With a heavy heart, I tucked the letter away, a symbol of a closure I'd have to find within myself. In the midst of my lowest point, I found companionship in an unlikely place, a rescue dog with kind eyes and a wagging tail, oblivious to the mistakes of my past. He didn't care about the gossip or the judgment, only that I was there to provide love and a home. Adopting him was a step toward something new, a commitment to healing and moving forward. Slowly, the small victories began to add up. Each day, I managed to save a little, working towards a goal that once seemed impossible. When I finally had enough to move to a better apartment, it was more than just a change of scenery. It was a tangible sign of progress, a milestone that marked the distance I'd come from the person I used to be. This journey, fraught with mistakes and lessons learned the hard way, taught me the value of resilience and the power of starting over. With each small achievement, I was rebuilding not just my life, but my sense of self. And though the road ahead was still uncertain, I was ready to face it, one step at a time, with a loyal companion by my side and a newfound strength within. The day I ran into Leo was like stumbling upon a ghost from a past life, one I had tried desperately to forget. There he was, as charming and disarming as ever, but the spell he once held over me had lost its power. "Mia, it's been a while," he said, with that all-too-familiar grin. My heart raced, not with affection, but with a surge of courage I didn't know I had. "I trusted you," I found myself saying, the words spilling out with a mix of anger and liberation. "You betrayed me, Leo. But you know what? I'm moving on. I'm growing beyond what happened between us." His expression shifted, a brief flicker of surprise, but his remorselessness was palpable. "Mia, we both knew what it was." His casual dismissal stung, yet it was the closure I needed, a clear sign of how far I'd come. The support group I joined became a sanctuary, a place where my story, though unique in its details, wasn't singular in its theme. Here were people who understood the complexity of human mistakes and the rugged path to redemption. Sharing my story, listening to theirs, I found a community that embraced me without judgment, helping me to see that forgiveness, especially self-forgiveness, was not only necessary but possible. Forgiving myself wasn't a moment of epiphany, it was a gradual acceptance of my humanity. With each meeting, each shared story, I began to understand that my worth wasn't defined by my lowest moments or the relationships I had lost. This realization, slow and sometimes painful, was the foundation upon which I started to rebuild my self-esteem. In this new chapter of my life, I made friends who knew me not for my past, but for who I was becoming. Together, we built a circle of support grounded in honesty, respect, and mutual growth. Their friendship, untainted by my history, was a gift, a reminder that new beginnings were not only possible but within reach. The reconnection with my family came unexpectedly, a tentative olive branch extended after months of silence. The conversations were awkward at first, filled with unsaid apologies and unshed tears, but they marked the beginning of healing, of rebuilding bridges I thought were burned beyond repair. Amidst this journey of self-discovery, I stumbled upon a hobby that soon turned into a passion, painting. With each stroke of the brush, I found a way to express what words could not. The canvas became my confidant, a silent witness to the depth of my emotions, my fears, and my hopes. Painting was not just an escape, it was therapy, a way to process my experiences and visualize my recovery. This chapter of my life, filled with confrontations and new beginnings, was a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. It was a reminder that out of the ashes of our greatest mistakes, we can rise, reborn and renewed, with a clearer understanding of our worth and the boundless capacity for change. The moment I stepped into the local community center, my heart was pounding so hard I thought it might burst through my chest. My artwork, pieces of my soul splashed across canvas, hung on the walls for the world to see. This exhibition, a tangible representation of my new life, felt like my first true step forward after so much time spent in the shadows of my past mistakes. As people wandered through, admiring the work, their compliments felt like balm to wounds I'd thought permanent. "Your use of color is incredible," one visitor said, and I could only smile, my heart swelling with a pride I hadn't felt in years. This was more than an exhibition. It was a declaration that I was still here, still fighting, still growing. Reflecting on the changes within me, I couldn't help but marvel at the journey. The pain, the loss, the betrayal, it had all sculpted me into someone stronger, more resilient. I'd learned to embrace my flaws, understanding that my mistakes, though a part of me, didn't define me. I made it a point to focus on small acts of kindness, a way to give back to a universe I'd once felt I had only taken from. Whether it was helping an elderly neighbor with her groceries or volunteering extra hours at the shelter, each act of kindness was a step towards mending the fabric of the community I'd once thought I had no place in. Accepting my past was perhaps the hardest step. It meant acknowledging the hurt I'd caused, the destruction left in my wake. But it also meant understanding that everyone has the capacity for growth, for change. My past was a chapter of my life, not the entire story. Hope for the future became a constant companion, whispering promises of what could be if I dared to dream, to strive for better. The possibilities ahead seemed endless, a horizon stretched wide with potential and new beginnings. Rebuilding trust with those around me took time, patience, and a commitment to showing, not just telling, that I was no longer the person who had hurt them. With every action, I sought to demonstrate my growth, my dedication to being someone they could rely on, someone worthy of their trust again. And finally, amidst the tumult of rebirth and redemption, I found a sense of peace. It wasn't the absence of turmoil or regret, but rather an acceptance of my journey, with all its highs and lows. I looked forward to a life of simplicity, growth, and above all, a commitment to living authentically, true to the person I had become. This peace, hard-earned and precious, was my foundation now. As I mingled among the guests at the exhibition, I realized this was just the beginning. Ahead of me lay a path filled with challenges and victories, sorrows and joys. But for the first time in a long time, I felt ready to face it all, with a heart open to whatever came